Guys, what's happening in the United States right now is much bigger than most people realize, and it could reshape America's future in ways we haven't seen in decades. Tens of thousands of Americans took to the streets yesterday in what organizers are calling the largest coordinated day of protest since President Trump returned to the White House. From coast to coast, in cities big and small, crowds gathered under the banner of "No Kings." Marching against the Trump administration's policies, the ongoing war with Iran, skyrocketing living costs, and what many describe as an erosion of democratic norms. At the same time, airports across the country remain in chaos because Congress still hasn't fully funded the TSA amid a partial government shutdown that's now the longest in history for the Department of Homeland Security. And in the background, American casualties continue to mount in the Middle East while gas prices climb and markets wobble. This isn't just another weekend of demonstrations. This is a nation visibly fracturing along deep political lines, and the stakes couldn't be higher as we head toward the 2026 midterms. Let's break down exactly what's going on, why it matters, and what it could mean for all of us. First, the protests. On March 28, No Kings rallies erupted in over 3,000 locations nationwide, with massive turnouts in Washington, D.C.'s National Mall, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and even smaller towns. People carried signs, baby Trump balloons, and creative costumes, drag queens on stilts in some places, while celebrities like Bruce Springsteen headlined events in Minnesota. The core message was clear. Opposition to Trump's handling of the Iran conflict, his immigration enforcement priorities, and the economic pain hitting everyday families. Protesters argue that endless military engagement abroad, combined with domestic funding battles, is draining resources when Americans are struggling with higher grocery bills and mortgage rates. On the other side, the administration and its supporters see these demonstrations as orchestrated attempts to undermine a president who is finally putting America first, securing borders, confronting adversaries like Iran, and pushing back against what they call woke excesses in government. President Trump himself has been active, holding cabinet meetings and speaking to the press, emphasizing that tough decisions now will deliver long-term strength. But here's where it gets deeper. This wave of unrest isn't happening in a vacuum. The United States is currently entangled in a serious military confrontation with Iran that has already stretched into its fifth week. U.S. forces, working alongside Israel, have conducted strikes on Iranian naval vessels and nuclear-related sites. In response, Iran and its proxies, including the Houthis, have escalated, with reports of attacks injuring American troops in Saudi Arabia and attempts to disrupt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. The Pentagon has confirmed new American casualties, and regional powers are now meeting in Pakistan to discuss de-escalation. What is really going on here? Many analysts point to a mix of long-standing tensions, recent provocations, and strategic calculations. The Trump administration frames the operation as necessary to neutralize threats to global energy flows and prevent Iran from advancing its nuclear ambitions. Critics, however, question the lack of clear exit strategy and worry that conflicting messages from the White House are creating confusion both at home and abroad. One possible scenario: if the conflict drags on, it could further spike oil prices, fuel inflation, and turn public opinion even more sharply against the administration. Especially among younger voters who polls suggest are already skeptical. At home, the economic ripple effects are impossible to ignore. Gas prices are climbing again. Stock markets have reacted nervously to Middle East instability. The partial shutdown affecting DHS funding has left TSA officers working without full pay or resources, creating those infamous long airport lines that frustrated travelers over the weekend. House Republicans rejected a Senate deal that would have resolved much of this, leaving immigration enforcement agencies like ICE and CBP in a particularly uncertain spot. This funding standoff highlights a broader tension inside the Republican Party and between the branches of government. And then there's the deeper societal layer. These "No Kings" protests tap into a fundamental debate about power, accountability, and what kind of America we want to be. Are we a country where strong executive action is needed to restore order at the border and project strength overseas? Or has the concentration of authority gone too far, risking the very democratic principles that make America exceptional? Most people only see the surface, the chants, the signs, the viral clips. But beneath it lies a struggle over the soul of the nation, how we balance security with liberty, prosperity with fairness, and global leadership with domestic priorities. What do you think about this? Are these protests a legitimate expression of dissent in a democracy, or are they undermining the will of the voters who elected President Trump? Drop your honest opinion in the comments below. I read every single one, and this channel thrives on real conversation, not echo chambers. Let's dig even deeper into the analysis. The war with Iran is intersecting with Trump's domestic agenda in dangerous ways. His administration has prioritized energy independence and deregulation, yet external shocks like this conflict threaten to undo some of those gains. At the same time, aggressive immigration policies, including expanded workplace raids and funding boosts for enforcement, are creating labor shortages in key sectors like agriculture and construction. Some economists warn this could slow growth and push inflation higher, even as the administration points to early successes in housing affordability initiatives and efforts to bring manufacturing back. There is more behind this than it seems. The funding battles in Congress aren't just about budgets, they're proxies for larger fights over the direction of the Department of Homeland Security, border security, and how America projects power. With midterms approaching in November 2026, both parties are positioning themselves. Democrats sense an opportunity to capitalize on public fatigue with foreign entanglements and economic uncertainty. Republicans are betting that voters will ultimately reward strength and results over protests and gridlock. If this continues, prolonged conflict abroad, unresolved shutdown drama at home, and polarized streets. One possible scenario is heightened political violence or further erosion of trust in institutions. Another scenario, decisive military progress in the Middle East combined with economic relief measures could solidify Trump's base and blunt the opposition momentum. A third, more unpredictable path. Regional diplomacy in Pakistan actually produces a ceasefire, allowing the administration to pivot back to domestic wins like lowering regulatory barriers for home construction and addressing DEI policies in federal contracting. This could change everything heading into the midterms. Control of the House and Senate is very much in play. Democrats need to net 4 Senate seats to flip the chamber, and several battleground races are tightening. Public frustration over the war, airport chaos, and rising costs could become a powerful turnout motivator, or it could backfire if voters blame congressional Democrats for the funding impasse. My realistic take. America is resilient, but we're at an inflection point. Strong leadership requires not just bold action but also the ability to bring the country together when divisions run this deep. The protests show passion on one side. The administration's determination shows resolve on the other. The real test will be whether policymakers can deliver tangible results, lower energy costs, secure borders without crippling key industries, and a foreign policy that protects interests without endless entanglement, before voter patience runs out. This moment feels historic because it is. The decisions made in the coming weeks and months on Iran, the budget, and domestic priorities will echo far beyond 2026. They will shape the economy your children inherit, the security of our cities and towns, and America's place in a rapidly changing world. If you enjoy this kind of in-depth, no-spin analysis that goes beyond the headlines, do me a favor right now, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We're building a community here that actually thinks critically about where this country is headed. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you in the next one. What's your biggest concern right now, the war, the economy, or the protests? Let me know down below. Take care.